Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namane Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripapradayane Gaurakata Damadaya Nagaragramatarane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So welcome to our Radha Shakti Purushottam month special, and today is the last day of Purushottam month, and today's topic is Gopi Geeta. So we will be concluding this particular Purushottama month talks, but we are continuing the Krishna Leela and the Krishna Katha. Tomorrow morning will be Ashkar's presentation on deliverance of Pralambasura. So do not miss it tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. India time. All right, so without further delay, let us begin the interesting topic of Gopi Geeta. It is a very sensitive, delicate topic, but it's very important for us to understand this area of devotional service, because after all, we are Rupanugas. We are the followers of Srimati Radharani. We are following the footsteps of Srimati Radharani. Okay. I have some pictures. Let me see if it's showing up. Word. So before we start this topic, let us meditate and visualize ourselves entering into the forests of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And let us follow in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan. Take them as our gurus and beg them for the mercy to bless us to have the same moods that they have, to be on the same platform as they are, so that we could also relish this Gopi Geeta and be blessed by the divine mercy of Sri Krishna. And let us also take the blessings of Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, as Srimad Bhagavatam recitation is non-different from these transcendental, intimate mellows of Gopi Geeta. The gopis of Vrindavan are known to be the highest of devotees because their total love, total surrender, Atmanivedana, it's entirely renouncing all material things, all kinds of attachment to this world, and to completely attach their sense of identity with Krishna. It is like making themselves like a blank piece of paper. So if I gave you a blank piece of paper, and I'd say, what's going on for you right now? Write it down. It'll be, oh, I'm pissed at this person and this conflict happened and I have this desire which is unfulfilled. I want to go into this place. I don't like the place I am in. I don't like the job I am in. So we can be very explicit about all the troubles that we have when we look at the piece of empty paper, blank paper, and we say, write down what's happening for you. So our acharyas, they say that what was happening with the gopis was complete surrender. They made themselves like a blank piece of paper to Krishna, who is the Lord of senses, Rishikesha, and they requested the Lord to write whatever Krishna wanted. So this is what makes the gopis very special. See, so we also see that there's a surrendered attitude when Gopi Gita is being recited. It's nothing about me and mine. It's completely and focused on Krishna's glorification. Also, Parikshit Maharaj had the same mood. He wasn't concerned, oh, I'm going to die in a few days. And he was so absorbed in hearing Krishna's leelas. So let's begin. One of the first verse of Gopi Gita. Jayati te dikam janmana vraja shrayata indira shashvadatrahi kavita drishyatam dikshutavaka stavidrishatraya stavam vichintyaye. So the first word of Gopi Gita is starting with the word Jayati. And Jayati means winner. Winner of what? So all the sages, all the acharyas conclude that of all the places, Vraja is the best. Okay, Vrindavan Dham is the best. And therefore, Vrindavan Dham is the winner. So this is one of the conclusions. In order to show the glories of that place, there are so many acharyas who describe the difference between Vraja and say Vaikuntha or any other spiritual abode. And in fact, Krishna himself asks the gopis, like, you're glorifying Vraj so much. By the way, I was even actually born in Mathura in a jail. And they say, but you came to us asking for butter and ghee, and you were stealing from our houses. You were stealing yogurt and ghee from Vrajadam. And Vrajadam witnessed these pastimes. So therefore, Vrajadam is the highest winner. Okay, that's one of the meanings. And also the gopis say that, you remember we made you dance just to get a little bit of butter from us and a little bit of buttermilk. And as our Vaishnava Acharya says, actually that butter is Kshirabdi Shayana Hariye Ninage Bekaite no Gokulada Benne ಸಾಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲವೇ ಹಾಲ್ಮೊಸರ ಕಡಲೆ ನಾಟಕ ಏತಕ್ಕೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಕ್ಷೀರಾಬ್ಧಿ ಶಯನ. So in Vaikuntha, Krishna actually is lying on the causal ocean of milk. He owns ocean of yogurt. He doesn't need to come down to Gokula, to Vraja, to steal a little butter and ghee and yogurt from the houses of the gopis. But that's the glory of Vrajadam. The love with which they make that yogurt and the butter. Krishna comes to steal that love. So he doesn't need your tomato, potato, sabji, parathas, whatever fruit you're offering. That is not his interest. It's the bhava behind that offering. He is called Bhavagrahi Janardhana, which means he actually takes your intention, your mood, your feeling, your devotion. And who else but the gopis have that perfection of devotion? And that's why he comes all the way to Vrajadam to steal that butter, to steal that yogurt, because he wants to steal the hearts of the gopis, and he wants to steal our hearts too. Okay, Krishna is standing in the altar waiting for us to serve him because he wants to claim us back. We are lost, rotting with our own material desires. So the Sanskrit letter Jayati, right? That's the first word of the Gopi Gita. Ja also represents the birth of the very intense desire, the separation desire. The heart is burning to see Krishna. Please, Krishna, please come back and extinguish this fear. When you love some particular deity, like my friend Sandhya here, she loves Lord Jagannath, and she's constantly thinking of Jagannath. She went to Puri, she was here in Rajpur. So that eagerness, that love, and that devotion towards that specific deity, even though you are sitting all the way thousands of kilometers away, the emotion is what Krishna wants. It's not actually the flower offering or the bhoga offering or the money that we give. That's not Krishna's interest. The gopis are expressing to Krishna their burning desire. And it's described by our acharyas that some gopis were sitting in their house cooking and they heard Krishna's flute and they came running. Some other gopis were actually taking care of children. Some other gopis were tending to their husband's needs. But none of them mattered because they were so in love with Krishna that whenever they heard Krishna's flute, whenever they heard flute of Krishna playing through his lotus mouth, they went to the place very eagerly. And then Krishna tells them, hey, why are you here? Please go back. They say, no, we can't go back, and then all this conversation is happening here. So see, the Gopi Gita is a very long thing. Today is just an introduction. I want to share with you 3 lessons that I learned in my research of Gopi Gita study so far. And it's like a beginning, okay? It's like an introduction. So there are 3 elements here. One is how the gopis are in touch with their own, let's say, I can't really say faults because the acharyas say that it was also a leela to show that. But basically, the gopis become proud at one point. They actually say, oh, you see, you left your abode in Vaikunta. We will not come there because Nandan Krishna, you don't reside there. You're actually here. You've come here to steal our love. So here's where your happiness is. Here's where your abundance is. You come here to steal our buttermilk. Every day you're doing leelas here. There is no such joy and this kind of ananda in Vaikunta. There is only in Rajadam. Okay. So the gopis are very aware of how attached Krishna is to their love. And at the same time, they are like realizing that pride that Krishna belongs to us made Krishna distance themselves. So immediately the acharyas say how even the gopis, the topmost of these greatest of the devotees, okay, even the great rishis and munis cannot take their position because of their devotion. Even they were able to immediately recognize, oh, this pride has overtaken me. So immediately they acknowledged their defects and they went to Krishna and they shed tears, and they immediately, becoming aware of their pride, they asked Krishna, David Drushitam. So they were begging Krishna with tears in their eyes. They are asking David Drushitam. So with humbleness, they are admitting their fault. That's our lesson number 1. We need to be aware of our weaknesses. We need to be aware of our faults and flaws in our character. And that's what Krishna admires the most. In the history of Srimad Bhagavatam, if you see Ramayana, if you see Mahabharata, greatest of the sinners, okay, let's take Ajamil, he did so many sins. Let's take Chaitanya Charitamrita, just 500 years ago, Jagai and Madai, great sinners, right? But for Krishna, for Mahaprabhu, like that, they could forgive. Okay, even Lord Ram, he was very, very merciful, and he could, like that, forgive the demons, forgive Ahalya, forgive different people who were not exactly following exactly the sadhana process or performing things according to rules and regulations. So our acharyas describe that the thirst and that quench of the gopis to want to be accepted by Krishna again, it's tinged with that humility, and that's what attracts Krishna. And I also mentioned the other time when I spoke about Rukmini Vivaha, when Rukmini Devi praises Krishna that you oversee faults and you accept the devotion of the Lord, of the devotees. So that's what the quality that she was most attracted to in Krishna. So similarly, we are seeing here, it's not that, oh, you perform little sin and therefore you're a better devotee. Somebody else performed so much more sin and so they are in a lower position. It doesn't work like that with Krishna. For him, sins and faults like that, he can remove it. But what he cannot get is that butter and the ghee. That's why he comes down to Gokula to steal it. Okay. And our acharyas also sing the glories. Marana pitata manayolu pokka Marana pitatam manayollu pokka hidiya hodare kaige sikka. Hidiya hodare kaige sikka. Nodi nakka bari dhakka. Gopi kellinna magajara. Idachora sukumara. Let me move the picture to this point. See, when we're speaking of these gopis, now Krishna is this little, tall, naughty little boy, and the gopis were all like elderly gopis. And they are all taking immense joy in Krishna actually stealing, because it is a higher purpose, it's a higher meaning. And acharyas describe how everyone has a particular purpose. Okay, Lakshmi Devi sees Narayan as husband, Lakshmi Devi sees Krishna as husband, and Brahma and Vayu, they see Krishna as the father, and then Saraswati and all, they see him as uncle, and the Garuda sees Krishna as Pitamaha, and the rest of the jivas, they see Krishna as Param Pitamaha. So he's our original seed-giving father. So Gopi Geeta is essentially the cry of the gopis. It's the tears of devotion and love that became Gopi Geeta. My Guru Maharaj often says that you should cry for Krishna. And if you cannot cry for Krishna, you should cry that you cannot cry for Krishna. And if you cannot cry that you cannot cry for Krishna, then you cry that you cannot cry to cry for Krishna. So he often quotes that. And to be very frank, this particular presentation, when I was preparing, is when I actually realized what my Guru Maharaj means by we should cry for Krishna. What we can learn is from the gopis, from our gopis of Vrindavan Dham, we can learn what it means to cry. Okay, let me see here. So go back to this. If you have any questions or comments, you can put it in the, because I'll be going section by section. So the first point is the awareness of the gopis. At this point, they're so aware of their pride, and it's with the tears-filled eyes, they're asking Krishna to appear before them with utmost humility. So if we become aware of our faults and defects, that is much more pleasing to Krishna than we jumping up and down and who knows, building things, donating things, doing things is not pleasing to Krishna as much as being and feeling. Okay. And another very important thing that happens, another important thing that happens in this this section of Gopi Geeta is also Krishna consoling the gopis, and he tells them something. This is not some mundane, romantic words, okay? They're not superficial, superfluous, meaningless words that in the material world, oh, you're my life, I am your life, you know, you are everything to me, all this kind of nonsense that we hear. It's not that kind of superficial romance. This is actually the depth of emotional intelligence. This is the depth of devotion. This is the depth of philosophy. This is the depth of theology. And what does Krishna tell the gopis? He says the ultimate truth. He says, my home is in your heart. So Krishna tells the gopis, my home is in your heart. So please go home, because where you are, that's where my heart is. This picture, I really like this picture. Show you back. So the gopis, this is one thing. It is described that they would actually see Krishna in them. Their very selves became so connected. Their identities were so connected to Krishna that their very self was Krishna's. Like, I am Krishna's and Krishna is mine. It became non-different, and that's why Krishna is known as the expert of all lovers, because he is the personification of that love. And he says something else, and then gopis respond to Krishna and they say, why did you give us eyes if we are unable to see you? What's the point of these eyes? Why did you give us your our ears if we can't hear you playing the flute? What's the point of this tongue if we cannot kiss you? Why do we have even skin if we cannot touch you and feel you? And what's the point of our nose if we can't smell your fragrance? So, my dear Natkat Krishna, my eyes are meant to see your beautiful form, your enticing smile. So the senses are properly engaged when we engage our minds. Narayana nanene manave, Narayana nanene, ನಾರಾಯಣನ ವರ್ಣಿಸು ಮನ್ನಿಸು ಆರಾಧನೆಗಳ ಮಾಡುತ್ತ ಪಾಡುತ್ತ ನೀರಾಜನದಿಂದ ಅರ್ಚಿಸು ಮೆಚ್ಚಿಸು ಪಾರಾಯಣ ಪ್ರಿಯನ ವೇದ ಪಾರಾಯಣ ಪ್ರಿಯನ. So we are supposed to engage all the indriyas, all the senses. We are supposed to utilize that only to please Krishna. And whatever is happening in our life, connect it Krishna. Put Krishna in the center. What happens then? The acharyas explain. When the gopis became aware of their anartha, immediately, as soon as they became aware, they became humble, they went and immediately asked Krishna to sanctify their senses. Immediately they became pure. So this is the power of the holy name. This is the power of honesty. This is the power of us humbly approaching Krishna and handing over our character defects to Krishna. When we hand over our character defects to Krishna, we immediately get freed from it. What was that? Okay. When the gopis ask Krishna, they want to place the lotus feet of Krishna on their breasts. And the acharyas explain how this is the way that the gopis were requesting Krishna to purify their intentions, purify, because our heart, our chest is where we carry all those anarthas. Like I was asking you, in a blank piece of paper, what do you feeling if you write it? That's what's happening in your heart, right? That's the blank piece of paper that gopis are able to give. They're giving the blank heart, which is filled only with love. And the love is such that completely Krishna's will, no self-will, no self-will. So when they're giving it, the lotus feet of Krishna, when it touches their heart, they want the lotus feet, which is all auspicious. Puttapada, Krishna's small lotus feet, it is endowed with all auspiciousness of the entire world. Yeah. Ikonode Ranganatana Putta Padava, Sikki Tirthi Lakshmi Patiya Divya Padava, Ikonode Ranganatana Putta Padava. In the beginning of Gopi Geeta also, they're speaking about how wherever Krishna is, there is goddess of fortune. We say Lakshmi Narayana, Lakshmi Radha Krishna, Radha Madhava, Radha Ramana, Radha Gopinath, Radha Govinda. So there's no place where Krishna is not there. So in the lotus feet of Krishna also, right, the presence of Lakshmi Devi is always there. So there are two sides to this, okay? One side is that the gopis want to hold the lotus feet of Krishna to their chest and ask him to sanctify them. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is this. This is one of my favorites. So Rupa Goswami says, in the lotus feet of Krishna, there are many, many symbols. And one of the symbols is a fish. So the fish in the lotus feet of Krishna, I mean, this is the lotus feet of Krishna we're talking about, very alive. So when you place lotus feet of Krishna to your chest should be so purified. You should be so sincere and humble that your heart should have melted. And that melted liquid should be able to attract the fish in the lotus feet of Krishna. And that fish should jump in your heart and swim. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in his prayer. And he says, Kobe hobe bolo sedinama. Kobe hobe bolo sedin amar aparada guchi shudho name ruchi Dipavale habe hridaya sanchar. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing and saying, when will that day come that my heart has melted and melted in such a way that the pure holy name can actually swim in my heart? So what Rupa Goswami is saying about the fish jumping in your heart and swimming, and what we are reading here in Gopi Geeta of the gopis desiring to keep the lotus feet of Krishna on their breasts, on their chests, they all come together in this philosophical understanding of what it means to be a bhakta and what is the relationship of bhakta and Bhagavan. That complete sense of Atmanivedana, that complete sense of surrender, 100%, with no fear whatsoever. Okay, let's go to the next section. The gopis in this section, they are expressing how they're saying, we are your unpaid maid servants, Krishna. But you see, the whole servitude thing is very much perverted in the material world. So we think like, oh, I don't want to be a maid servant. But to be a maid servant of Krishna is another level of joy. And so the benediction of being your unpaid servant, the gopis are expressing how you're killing us with your supremely beautiful sparkling eyes, and you're stealing even the proud beauty of all these lotus flowers and all the season of spring and all these ponds there, all these lotuses are springing in the pond in the autumn season, and you are just killing us with your glance, with your love and affection. At this point, we must recognize how even in material world, we may fall in love with somebody, but it's very short-lived. After some 1 year or something, we lose the feelings and we become like, okay, yeah, this person, we take it for granted, right? But that never happens with Krishna, because with every growing day, the love for Krishna, the devotion for Krishna, he is capable of keeping you more and more and more inspired. And he's capable of making you feel ecstasies, right? And when the acharyas speaking, when our Vaishnava acharyas explain, right, the good fortune of Lakshmi Devi, who is able to attract the attention of Krishna, who is pralaya kaladalli aladeleya mele malagiddaga halavu ಆಭರಣಗಳು ಜಲವು ಆಗಿ ಜಾಣತನದಿ ಮರುಳು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಯಾದೇವಿಯೇ ಇರುಳು ಹಗಲು ಏಕವಾಗಿ ಹರಿಯು ನಿನ್ನ ಬಿಡದೆ ಬಂತೆ. This verse is specifically for the gopis, is specifically for Srimati Radharani, and the energy of Lakshmi Devi is speaking about even at the time of inundation and the whole entire universe is going to be ended. Even at that time, Krishna is never alone. He's still with Goddess of Fortune. And he's lying down on this little banyan leaf, right? And trying to suck his own, what do you call it? Thumb, not thumb. What is it called? Toe. He's sucking his toe, right? And at that time, Jalavu Agi Jarnatanadi, all the universe's jewelry is all just becoming water. Even at that time, he doesn't leave Lakshmi Devi. Sarva Sanga Bittu Sanyasiyada Kalakku Sarvada Tannedeya Mele Bidade Ninna Darisi Bante. See, sannyas and Krishna, our acharyas explain, don't go well together. Krishna and sannyasi, he's like always surrounded by girls. He's married 16,108 wives, and Krishna himself declares to the gopis, I'm always surrounded by women, right? By the way, in this material world, Mahabharata says that there are two things that you can never have enough. One is money. Nobody can say I have enough money, and nobody can say, oh, I've lived enough. Everybody is eager for more money and to live longer. Okay. So speaking about it, this point that Krishna never leaves the love and the companionship of the gopis. He never gives up the goddesses of fortune, because without that he's incomplete. And the gopis know it. Okay. So this point, Sarva Sanga Bittu Sanyasiyada Kalakku. So the acharyas also explain that the best sannyasi is Krishna, because sannyas means you renounce the end result. You don't enjoy the result. So why Krishna is known as the best of sannyasis? Because he's not trying to enjoy the gopis. He's giving enjoyment to the gopis. So by being of service to the gopis, he's actually giving pleasure to the gopis. And therefore, he's not enjoying. And therefore, he also is a sannyasi. So it's a very nice combination of qualities where Sarvasanga bittu sannyasiya adakalaku, even when he became Buddha avatar, right? He was not alone. Still, even there, the goddess of fortune was there. So like that, the Supreme Lord is never without his internal potency, okay? Internal potency, even as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas, right? Sannyasa kritya mashanto nishta shanti parayanam shubhanga shanti dastrashta kumuda kuvaleshayah. This verse of Mahabharata, and it comes in Vishnu Sahasranam, it specifically describes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so even in the incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you may say, hey, he took sannyas. Yeah, but you know that he's taken the mood of Srimati Radharani. So the Radharani is not going anywhere. He's in the mood of Radharani, right? It's Krishna in the mood of Radha. So even there, even all sarvasanga bittu sannyasi ada kalakku bidade means without fail, he's always carrying her in the heart. So the acharyas are asking, what did you do to get that kind of commitment from Krishna, who is such a difficult person? He's always, how do you say, materially speaking, his attention is so divided. It's very hard to grab his attention. What have you done that he always keeps you on his chest? So this explains, how Krishna is always trying to please the devotees. Krishna is so difficult to attain, and therefore, who can attain is his eternal internal potency. It's Krishna. It's Radharani and the gopis. Okay, this is So that's the first point. Okay, our sincerity and our awareness of our weakness. The second point, very important point for us to understand, is that Krishna will only come to you if you understand him. And to understand Krishna is very difficult, even for the great rishis, even for the great munis. And the relevance for us is that Parikshit Maharaj is a good example. He wasn't concerned about his death. He was so focused on the story. This is the same mood of the gopis. They were less concerned about themselves. And we know the famous story when Krishna had a headache and Narad Muni was going everywhere, right? He was going up and down in all universes, asking for Krishna's headache's remedy. And the Krishna's headache remedy was the dust from the feet of his devotees. And nobody in Dwarka was willing to give. Nobody in Vaikuntha was ready to give. Say, what? Don't make us commit sin. How can we give the dust from our feet? And how can we do that sin? No way, forget it. But as soon as he arrives in Vrindavan Dham, and as soon as the gopis hear that he has a headache, he say, don't waste time. Tell us what's the cure? And even by the time that the solution was spelt out, they already had a plate with the dust filled up and said, please shut up and take this and go and give it to Krishna. So again, this is another proof that it's not about self-will. It's about allowing Krishna's will. It's about putting Krishna first. So Krishna says, I cannot repay you back for your love. Krishna tells the gopis, because they know Krishna. They know him so well that they don't care about anything that blocks them from serving Krishna. So that's the second lesson and point we can learn from Gopi Geeta. We need to know Krishna. And how can we know Krishna? We can know Krishna by hearing, by Shravanam. And the analogy given in this regard of how can we understand Krishna is that devotee's heart is like a clear water of lake, especially during springtime. Okay, they are crystal clear, and their heart is like that, very crystal clear, and the seeds of bhakti can grow just like beautiful lotuses can bloom. So these seedlings, they flourish into pure spiritual form of Atma Nivedana, of surrender. So when anybody surrenders to Krishna, my grandmother often says, even if you offer one flower to Krishna, he'll repay you back. He'll always keep track. He will always, you offer a garland, you offer a boga, you offer a flower. He'll always, my Ajji often says, Krishna will not keep debt. Ajji always says. But only and only to the gopis, Krishna said, I can't repay your debt. Because what they are giving is not just flower. What they are giving is such depths of love coming from the purest form, purest place in their heart. Okay, then Krishna himself will come and reside in your heart. No, that's the mood. It's not about how do you say? How can I do something for Krishna? It's about how can Krishna see me? We behave in ways that Krishna can see me. That's the point. So now about Shravanam, our Srimad Bhagavatam verse, let me actually screen share that verse so you can actually sing along with me. This is a very important verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our third point for today, what we can learn from Gopi Geeta. This is the 10th canto. I'll sing once and then you can repeat after me if you like. Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavibiridatam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam shrimadatam bhuvigrunati ye Tamritam tapta jivanam
Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhavigranatiye Bhurita Janam.
It's a very beautiful meditation. Okay, one more time, everybody together.
Tavagatamritam
Tapta Jivanam Kaviridam
Kaviridam
Kalmasapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvigranathi
Jai. Wow, what a beautiful verse. Can I have a volunteer to read the translation, please?
The words, sorry, let me tell you. The nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. These narrations, transmitted by learned sages, eradicate one's sinful reactions and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly, those who spread the message of Godhead are most munificent.
Right. Yes, it really, just, I don't know what you were doing an hour ago, okay? 1 hour ago, I was obsessing over something and complaining about something. And now sitting 1 hour talking about Gopi Geeta, focusing on Srimad Bhagavatam, focusing on the lessons I can learn. Immediately, my mind is uplifted. No more all that whatever was dragging me down. This is the magic of being in touch with Krishna. So, sometimes disappointments are good. I was just talking with my friend, because you are here in the meeting. So I was talking and she was telling me, it's good, Sri Radha Govinda. It's good to have people who disappoint us in our life, because then our focus will go to Krishna. And I was thinking, this is so true, because every time people disappoint us, we go to Krishna and we say, Krishna, please protect me from these people who are hurting me. Dear Krishna, please help me. I'm feeling so disappointed with these people. And sometimes we go listening to Bhagavatam or lectures because people in our life are disappointing us. So maybe some of you today came because you were feeling this, what it says, you're suffering of this material world. It's endless. You can never say the suffering is over. It's endless. But when we get in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, the absorption that we get is magical. So this is our third lesson. The third lesson is Tava Katamritam Tapta Jivanam. Okay, nectar of the words of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is your life and soul. Okay, because in this material world, there is All these little bamboos are not going to help us cross the ocean. The actual boat is the association of devotees and listening to the pastimes of the Lord. And to end, and then I'll take questions. But to end with, I want to read another verse which basically glorifies Purushottama, Jananivasa, Devaki Nandan, Yashoda, Krishna. And this verse is another Gopi's mood. And let's end today's this lecture with this verse. Again, I sing in a particular tone, but you can sing with whatever tune that you are aware of. Jayati Janani Vaso, Devaki Janma Vado, Yaduvara Parisatsvair Dorbera Sanya Dharma, Stirachara Vijignas Susmita Shri Mukhena, Vrajapura Vanitanam, Bhatyankama Devam, Jayati Janani Vaso, Devaki Janma Vado, Yaduvara Parisatsvair Dorbir Asanya Dharma. So can I have a volunteer to read this beautiful verse translation?
Lord Krishna is he who is known as Jananivasa, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devki Nandan or Yashoda Nandan, the son of Devki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms, he kills every inauspicious as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful, smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy.
Jai, Jayati Janani Vasu. Thank you so much, Sandhya, for reading this. So let the lotus feet of Krishna filled with auspiciousness remove all contaminations from our heart. May he purify us and give our heart a lot of love, a lot of bhakti. So thank you very much for your attention. Now is the time for comments, questions, criticisms, whatever.
It was such a brilliant, beautiful class. I loved your singings and your songs. As usual, it was so melodious and so sweet, so meaningful. What I especially loved is how you were describing about, the fish, the mark of fish on Krishna's lotus feet, and then what is the significance? Like, they want to hold his feet close to their chest, because their chest, it's like their heart is, it's like it's like a liquid. It's completely melted with love for Krishna, and that's how the fish in the foot of Krishna's feet, it can actually swim in that liquefied love of the gopis' heart. So that was so beautiful. It just touched my heart so much. So I just loved it. So thank you so much.
Your heart is melted, so the fish just jumped in your heart, I suppose.
I hope so. One day.
Yeah. Hearing about the gopis itself, no, something happens to our hearts. We open up. Yes.
And I was just remembering. Sorry, can I just add one more thing? Yeah, Hare Krishna, can you? Yeah, I just want to add one more thing. Like how Srila Prabhupada says, when you hear the Gopi Geet, the whole this Rasa Panchadhyaya, and that Gopi Geet is one of them, right? When we hear that from a qualified speaker, the lusty desires in our conditioned hearts can be completely nullified. That's what Prabhupada says. So thank you so much on this last day of Purushottam. So wonderfully picking up this beautiful section and explaining it to us. Very grateful to you. Very, very.
Yeah, you reminded me of a couple of things. You said Prabhupada. So I was thinking how Prabhupada wrote in the poetry, when he was traveling in the boat, he said, if you brought me here to dance, make me dance like a puppet in your hands. That's what Prabhupada wrote. And that's the mood of the gopis. complete Atmanivedan, no self-will. You brought me here to dance. You want to make me dance? You make me dance. That's Mahaprabhu's mood. Aslishyava padaratam pinastumam adarshana. You want to disappear? You want to squeeze me? Whatever you want, Krishna, do it. Right? That's a complete sense of trusting Krishna. Another thing I remembered about touch and the lusty desires. I was talking to a friend earlier, and she was telling me deity service, like whenever, because I was just making some garland for Radharani, and then she was explaining her realization that, as women, we have this need for touch. We like to be held, and that. And whenever this kind of deity service comes and we have to make garlands and something for deity, that means Krishna directly, Radharani directly, the services. So it's a way Krishna is protecting us from to channel that energy of us needing that touch through these services that actually purify us, and then what we make goes on the Lord, and he removes that lusty desire. It's not like overnight it's going to fade away, but in my personal experience also, when I started doing this service of making garlands for Radharani, making garlands for Radha Madhava, there is some sort of strength in the character to say, I don't want to settle for something less than, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj used to say, I'm blessed with the best and settle for nothing less. I like that. Thank you for reminding. Yes, Pragya Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I'm second to say that thank you so much for the beautiful class and melodious singing. The singing, was it some of them from the Gopi Geeta or from the Srimad Bhagavatam?
Just a couple of them was Gopi Geeta, but mostly it's from some Bhagavatam, some other bhajans, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other bhajans.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful melodious singing. I just want to ask that you said about like anartha, that to being aware of our shortfalls. So after being aware of our shortfall, because some of the shortfall, maybe not all of them, but some of them we know already. So what to do about it? Like, aware is one thing, and then, obviously you want to try to get rid of them. But how do we do that? What to do about it?
Okay. There is a very simple answer. There's a detailed answer. So the simple answer is, you cannot do anything about it. Simple. When we recognize, okay, this is my character defect, I have this weakness. That's why most of the population don't want to get in touch with the character weakness, because we feel helpless, we feel hopeless. And we came to this material world because we wanted to control, remember? We came into this material world because we want to get control of things. But the reality is that many times there's nothing we can do about our character defect. There's nothing we can do about it. But we can hand it over to Krishna. In other words, it's not something that like this we can get rid of it overnight, but it Krishna can. There is the 12-step processes. The first step is to admit that we are powerless and there is nothing we can do to fix our bhava roga, means the material disease. The second step is to understand that a power greater than me, which is Krishna, he can fix it. I can't is the first step. Second step is he can. And the third step is to hand over my life and my will, meaning weakness and the strength, to Krishna. This is the third step. So, but the first step starts with accepting that there is nothing I can do. It could be family problem sometimes. It could be my own thinking problem. It could be my eating or drinking problem. It can be a relationship addiction. It can be any kind of addiction, any kind of material disease that is keeping us like stuck. And I can see it. I can see myself doing those things over and over and over again. Trying, controlling, and trying to change that, trying to do this and that. And finally I say, Krishna, I can't do this. That's the beginning. So this is a long answer. The long answer is that the awareness itself is a foundational step. And the first step to take is to admit that there's nothing I can do. There is nothing in my power. But Krishna can. That's very important. Krishna can fix it. And the third is to go to Krishna and say, Krishna, I do this prayer every morning. Like especially in Ashringadev, I say this. Dear Narasimha, I offer myself to you, and please remove all my character defect that gets in the way of my service to you and your devotees, and please give me the strength to do your will. So it's like a meditation to go to Krishna and say, sometimes I'm aware of my weakness, sometimes I'm not. But I ask Krishna, please remove it from me and help me to be of service. So the long answer, the part 2 of it is that the goal is not to become free from anarthas. The goal is not to become free from defects. That was never the gopis' goals. That was never the acharya's goal. But our actual purpose is to become attached to Krishna. So a person who has 100 flaws and is attached to Krishna is better than somebody who has only 1 flaw but is not attached to Krishna. So our purpose in Bhakti Yoga is not to become pure people. Pure devotee is different from faults and flaws. We usually want to be mistake-free. We don't want to have faults because we want to enjoy ourselves. We want to enjoy our personality. But when I admit that I'm fallen, I have these weaknesses, we can't enjoy ourselves very much. That's when Krishna comes with more intensity. When we say Krishna, that's why our acharyas again and again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, again and again and again, they express that humility. Tranadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnunam. I am like a blade of grass in the street, Krishna. Right? I have no power to do anything, So that attracts Krishna very much. So even with 100 faults, if I go to Krishna and say, Krishna, all I am is full of faults, but I offer this to you. I offer myself full, good and bad, I offer to you. Right? Yeah. So that's the way to do it. So we give it to Krishna. We hand it over to Krishna.
Thank you very much. Very good answer. I mean, I just feel like that you are reading mind without even me being specific about the question. So thank you very much. I mean, I'm becoming emotional now. How you answered the question, and yeah, it was really very nice. From your class, I missed 12 minutes, and still I made a lot of notes. Another question. Can I ask another question?
Yes.
So that we maybe this is directly related to directly might not be related to what we talk about, but we talk about love of the gopis. So my question is that how can we develop more love and devotion to Krishna?
Such a nice answer. Such a nice question. Answer, you should say if it's nice. The simple answer is hang out with people who have love for Krishna.
Association.
Because, if somebody's heart is melted and the fish is already swimming in their heart, make friends with them. Then they can just help you. Okay, so association is the simple answer. And other things are introspection. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, introspection. Look within and see, what am I attracted to? I told you, do this blank paper thing. Take a blank sheet of paper and write down whatever is in your mind and your heart. And then you will be able to recognize where we are at. And then we go to Krishna with that paper and say, Krishna, I'm not having what gopis have in their heart. This is what I have. Right? So we begin our relationship with Krishna with honesty. No, we don't begin our relationship with denial. We begin with honesty. So we go to Krishna, we hand over and say, Krishna, this is what is here. And that's what I was telling you in the beginning of the class, that when my Guru Maharaj says constantly, repeatedly, cry for Krishna. If you can't cry, then cry that you can't cry for Krishna. If you can't cry that you can't cry for Krishna, then cry that you cannot cry that you cannot cry for Krishna. So the point is, this is what it is. It's not about me being perfect. It's not about me being free from anarthas. It's not me being a very nice person that I can enjoy myself. It's not. The point is to cry that I'm not able to ask that. And if I'm not able to cry that I don't have that purity, then I cry that I don't have it. So that's what my Guru Maharaj often says. It's not about us having perfect qualities. It's not the point. We just, like you said, how do I develop attraction for Krishna? Right? We cry. But if we can't cry, then we cry that we are not able to cry to develop that attachment. So we become eager. It's like if we love somebody and we want their attention, we try so many things. We feed them, we give them gifts, we call them, we send them nice messages, right? We don't give up easily. So what's to speak of Krishna? You want his attention? But usually the way to get his attention is to get the attention of his devotees. Not usually. Unless we are some demon that wants to go and have a fight with Krishna, this way works better. So, yeah, again, among the short answer thing, go to Srimati Radharani. That's the way to get Krishna. Because we are Rupanugas, we are Gaudiyas, we are devotees of Radharani. We like Krishna because Radha likes Krishna.
Yeah.
We can't directly get Krishna's attention.
Thank you very much for the answer.
And oh yeah, this bhajan came to my mind. How to develop devotion. Avana Shravana Mananadi Jigyasana Avishnovina Bhakti Mahaprasadangalu Kaivalya Padake Kidane Chani Kandu Bhavagyaru Pelvaru ಜೀವಕ್ಕೆ ಜವನ ಬಾಧೆಗಳನ್ನು ತಪ್ಪಿಸಿ ಪಾವನಪುರದೊಳಗೆಂದೆಂದು ಆವಾಸವ ಮಾಡಿ ಸುಖಿಸಬೇಕಾದರೆ ಸೇವಿಸು ವೈಷ್ಣವರ ನೀನು ಸೇವಿಸು ವೈಷ್ಣವರ. Actually, this whole song is answer to your question. And this is one of the paragraphs. It says, starting with Shravanam, constantly hearing about Krishna. Avana, Shravana, and then remembering constantly what you've heard and giving classes. When are you giving class next, Pragya? I should contact you for your schedule, by the way. So the second is to speak. Whatever you hear, you speak, you share. And remember, and Vishnuvina Bhakti Mahaprasadangalu. So constantly perform devotional service, eat Mahaprasadam, eat only Prasadam, wear tilak. What's that? Eradaru urdhva pundrangala dharisida Vira Vaishnava Guruva. So we're supposed to wear the urdhva pundras. That's Vaishnavas. We wear the tilak in all the 12 places. And then what was the other one? Vishnuvina Bhakti Mahaprasad Kaivalya Padake Kidani Channikendu Bhavan. And Jivake Javana Bhadiyanu. We are all rotting in this material world. We are drowning in this material ocean. And the one guaranteed way that we can be saved from drowning in this material ocean, Sevisu Vaishnavara. Worship the Vaishnavas, serve the Vaishnavas. And then we get liberated from this entanglement that is catching us. What's that entanglement? Nanu nannadu yemma narakadolage biddu. We're thinking, this is me, this is mine, my image, what people are thinking about me. Do people like me? People don't like me. We're getting lost in it. But instead you focus on Vaishnavas. You serve the Vaishnavas. That's very pleasing to Krishna. So, like that. There's a whole song, actually. All this thing comes in it. What all we can do, how to develop attachment to Krishna. There's a whole thing. But the simple answer is 9 processes of devotional service. Serve Guru, serve Krishna, serve Vaishnavas.
Is it possible that you can send me that song, please?
I can find it right now. Anybody else wants to add anything else while I find that song and the translation of that song, if I can? If you want to add anything. Yeah.
I wanted to share how contemplation is so important, and just by how you were explaining, just hearing Krishna Katha, right? Our mind is naturally attracted to think about the Lord. So when we are thinking and contemplating, right, then slowly attachment will come. Just how do we fall down, which is explained in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, right? It is all starting from contemplation. So when we start, choosing to contemplate on Krishna by giving our attention to hearing Krishna Katha, right, then definitely slowly attachment will arise in our heart. So this is also so interesting. That's what Prabhupada kept saying. You're from pure devotees, you're Krishna Katha. And then he kept saying either you're constantly or chant constantly. Why? And then our whole movement is also called like International Society for Krishna Consciousness, right? Slowly I was like, when I was reading yesterday, I suddenly it just kind of clicked me, this contemplation of Krishna, like by contemplating how we are developing attachment and this having Krishna always in our consciousness, all this is kind of linked, right? It just syncs up, correct? And then I never had thought in that line, but then yesterday, I think Krishna's mercy, somehow, I was able to understand so many things were like falling into place, like a jigsaw series. So, the puzzle pieces, I've heard this, I've heard that, but then all of them were coming together. And I was thinking, wow, yeah, this is what Prabhupada was like. This is a science, like Prabhupada always says, right? Yes, it is a science. When we are hearing, this is what's going to slowly happen without our, understanding. Either we understand it or we don't understand it. This is how it will definitely work because it is science. It's very scientific. Prabhupada used to say our devotional service. Oh, this is so scientific. Why? This is how it works. Right? Slowly we're moving our own contemplation towards Krishna, and then that'll help us. That's one thing. And second thing was like about how, like, either we are focused on pleasing Krishna's senses or we are focused on our, pleasing our own senses, which is so common. We're so used to it, like, millions of lifetimes you've taken just to, please our senses. But then the more we are pleasing and more we are pleasing, it never ends. It never ever ends, right? So unless we choose to change, our perspective and say, no, this is not going to work. This program is not working. Let me try to please Krishna, the Krishna sense, like how you were telling about the garland and all. Oh my God, that was so sweet, so damn sweet. Like how our senses are getting purified by performing seva to Krishna, right? That was so beautiful. And I was also thinking the same point again. See, our senses, when we are directing towards Krishna, they're getting automatically purified. And this bhava roga that we are having of sense enjoyment, sense gratification, right? That's ending. Why? Because there is a means. And how kind is Krishna to come as Archa Vigraha to give us a chance to do this, right? Otherwise, just imagine if he had not, then he was not there. It's like imaginary in the mind. We have to just think about some murti of Krishna, then we're putting the flowers. How is that compared to really doing with the hands, seeing in the eyes, and then plucking the flowers, contemplating about, offering this to him? And then just imagine how kind is the Lord and how merciful he is, and then how he is purifying.
And he's always attempting, you see, to get us back, to make us, think of him. And, again, like garland, flowers, he owns the universe. But what he wants, the emotion behind those things. And I'm telling you, from personal experience, exactly the time of our life when we need the most that personal touch or whatever it is we are in need of, Krishna will give us that service, cooking maybe, making garlands maybe, because he will give some direct service so that he can purify you. So you don't need to, that's what I'm saying, Pragya Mataji, you don't need to break your head. Just relax and let the Lord give you the umbrella. One more bhajan song, I have to quote this. So this our Acharya speak in the context of Rasa Leela and Gopi Geeta. They say how when Krishna did these pastimes, Martana, Kalinga, Nardana, Gokula Rakshana, Sakala Sulakshana Deva, Sitta Janapala, Sankalpa Kalpa Kalpa Shatakoti, Asama Parabhava, Vira Muni Jana Vihara, Madana Sukumara, Daitya Samhara Deva. So actually, Taruni Radha gave a nice talk about Kaliya. If any of you wants to check, you can go to my channel and see. She spoke very nicely about the lessons related to Kaliya serpent. But in this particular bhajan, it is described how this is also connected to how to get attached to Krishna or how to understand Krishna and kill Kaliya. So he had his purposes. And when the Govardhan Leela happened, he didn't stop the rain. Krishna didn't, he could have just stopped the rain. I mean, it's Krishna. He could have stopped the rain. He didn't. He gave the umbrella. So he's always trying to protect every devotee according to their level of surrender and according to what is needed in that specific time, in that specific situation. Veera Munijana Vihara Madana Sukumara Daitya Samhara Deva. Even every demon, he doesn't do mechanically. It's not an analytical process. So this suggestion of the acharyas is this: if you want to understand Krishna, you want to become attached to Krishna, then you have to go away from analytical thinking, and you should just open your heart to Krishna. Be honest with Krishna. That's why we started the Krishna Connection journaling, because journaling opens your heart. You can say, dear Krishna, this is what is happening to me. This is what I'm denying. This is how I'm actually feeling. And then we can also do outreach calls with some of our friends, open up our hearts. No, not live in denial. Look at our hearts. Because for Krishna, our anarthas are not the problem. He comes to steal the butter and ghee of bhakti. That's what he wants. He doesn't care how you look, what you're doing, what you can't do, your talents, your skills. What else? What else do we worry about? Oh, I'm lazy, I can't do this. He doesn't care about these things. All he cares is just that your ability to love. Sandhya is saying, yes, Sandhya was here in Mayapur, and Sandhya and I, we made garland for Jagannath together. And that was such a beautiful experience. So that's his way to claim us, to give us service, to do something for him. That we accept it. So it's that he claims us back, because we are lost, we are drowning. So that's him giving us a stick. Okay, chalo, you're so hopeless. Come, I'll pick you up.
Yeah, exactly. We're so hopeless that finally he'll pick us up.
Yes, Taruni, Radha, go ahead.
Yeah, today, right, I was just reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, something so beautiful. Just wanted to share this. We're always praying like, please, oh Lord, oh Radha, oh Krishna, please accept us, right? That's the prayer. Usually that's the way that's how I think my mentors and all like thought like, this is what you're supposed to be praying like that. So I should just continue to, follow that mood. And then today, when I was reading, I was surprised to just see in this purport of Srila Prabhupada, he's saying that nobody is barred from the kingdom of God, nobody is barred. That means everybody is what do you say? It's not like you have to ask for acceptance by the Supreme Lord. It's like we have forgotten, please accept. It's not like he's ever barred us from the kingdom of Lord. It's just that we have to use our free will to choose to serve him. So then I was realizing, instead of just saying, accept me, it's like, please engage me in your service. Like what Prabhupada actually meant for the Hare Krishna's meaning, right? Ask that, you may get back into your service with the Lord. That means basically your relationship with the Lord. That is that is much more meaningful than saying, please accept me. Like, mother will never say that, you're not my child, just go. When has the mother ever abandoned that relationship, right? She's never done that, correct? It's just that you have to say that, Mom, I love you, and then you have to go. So I was just thinking, this is so kind of so kind. I felt that they gave this understanding today morning when I was reading. Because the whole month I was just like, that was my prayer. And then in the end, they're just trying to say like, when were you out of you chose to go out. We never sent you. You're still part of it. So that is so sweet. Yeah.
At the same time, Krishna does like when we say, Krishna, please accept me. He does like it. Okay, finally, the person, when we acknowledge that, Krishna, I want to be back with you. It's like, you're right that he never rejected us. The holy name never rejects us. We can always go back to Krishna any moment, right? He never, I heard this and it always remained with me. Krishna is incapable of rejecting you. I mean, it sounds like that's not the right adjective, right? Incapable is not the right adjective, but it makes a point there. There's only one thing Krishna cannot do, and that's to reject, because we are parts and parcels.
And I also wanted to say about those about those tribulations, even for the gopis, right? He's just enhancing. He wants to get that even finer bhava to come out. That's why like he will disappear. Or in the beginning also, like he just when they are like searching for him, and he's playing the flute and they're all running and coming, right? He's just churning the emotions, and then finally they see him. And then when he disappears also, people say some of the commentators are saying like there's like a little pride that, you know, the Krishna is mine and he's dancing only with me. That thing came because of which, but they are gopis at the topmost, you know, spiritual beings. How and then the eternal associates of Krishna, how in the world can pride arise? That's just one part to just show, but then the real thing is he just wants to, like, you know, get even more that bhava to sprout from their hearts and just come out. That is the reason why he does. That's for them. Same likewise, even for us, like conditioned souls, some of the tribulations that we are going through, it's like how you said, Krishna can just, you know, stop the rain, but he doesn't. But then he then gives the Govardhan, he lets the whole Govardhan himself, and then how will our heart, you know, react to such kind of a personal protection by the Lord? It melts, right? It just melts like that. So those tribulations, when those things are happening and we are calling unto the Lord and suddenly he lifts it, right? Just imagine how much our heart will get more attracted and melt towards Krishna. So that's why he's choosing to do that, because slowly it's not happening. So when something really, like, he arranges the tribulation, then it's so beautiful. Yeah, just wanted to share that.
And also, whatever you said makes me realize we can never say, I know Krishna, this is what will happen, this is what Krishna will do, or say, we don't. Only Radharani knows Krishna. We don't know why Krishna is doing specific thing with specific devotees. We don't know. No, that's when faith needs to be exercised. So thank you very much for your attention and for your participation. And I hope you had a great Purushottama month. But please do join and support the classes that I'd like more and more Vaishnavis to get trained and start to give classes so that you can be absorbed. This is a great service opportunity. Okay, do contact me if you like to do this service. And thank you very much. Parijata Devi, thank you for joining us. She's a busy lady and she has graced us with her presence today.
Thank you so much, Jai Mataji. Hari Bol. Happy Krishna
Thank
conscious night. Hari
you.
Bol.
Thank
Hare
you for
Krishna.
having us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for wonderful class.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Shari. Hari Bol. Parijata, are you there?